let's give like another example. Like, you have a house, okay, and you want to renovate stuff. You know, you have a wall. Yeah, there's supposed to be some wires and plumbing and stuff behind it, you know. But before you open the wall, sometimes it's just like you don't really know. You think you know, but then you open the wall and just like, why the wire is like that? Why the plumbing is going that way? Why there's no valve? Why? And then you find like all construction issue, like the woods plank are just like not the right, you know, like all that kind of stuff that sometimes some dev, you know, like even myself, would try to be humble or capacity, but sometimes just like, I can't do it. I'm Rambo, man. I can't go to war and do stuff. And you know, and you like to do that, and then you open the box and just like, oops, you know. So sometimes it's more about being like, try to manage expectation, and one easy trick to manage that is mostly like how many unknowns that you have, you know, like can you count them? Like, can you make a list of like, do you really know that? Oh, I think it's not good enough. You think, but maybe that's wrong. And as you add all those wrong together, and like, I don't know this, I don't know this, I don't know this. If you have 10 unknowns and you're all wrong on all of those, that's a lot of issue that you have to solve first before you can solve your main issue that you want to change.
I think there's a thing I'd like to bring up once in a while. It's called the off-stater law, and it states basically, it always takes longer than you expect, even when you take into account the off-stater law. And this was in '79, and basically to describe widely experienced difficulty of accurately estimating the time it takes to complete a task or subsection. And if I'm not mistaken, this guy was in computer or something like that. But it's true, like there's so many things that you cannot foresee, you cannot plan for, you can hope, you can by experience say, but
so I think just to add to that, it is a scenario where you have something that based on experience, because more for us here, we've been dealing with PHP and different kinds of applications for a long time. So based on our experience, we can say, okay, this is the term we use is approximate effort. This is the approximate effort it would take for us to be able to deliver this. However, what we also do is that we know based on this Hofstadter law that you can never really fully say that this is actually going to take this amount of time. So what we do is that we always try to constantly update the customer, let them know at each point. We set up Scrum meetings. If necessary, we schedule calls in order to be able to say, give live updates. So the choice can be made in terms of saying, okay, do we continue? How do we proceed from here based on what it is that we discovered? You open the bag and oops, it wasn't what you expected. You know, so how do you proceed? And that is how we manage projects. And I think, go for it.
And you know, one of the good way to not have any surprise will actually cost you a lot of money up front. So basically, if you take the time to open the hood and analyze every single detail, you have to pay for that time anyway. Also, when you build an estimate, if you really want to have something so accurate, then you're talking about an architecture design, which takes days and days and days to build. So when you analyze first and then you actually build an architecture design with diagram and all of that, you ended up spending weeks on something, and you have to pay for that time in order to get just no surprise. So when you just work right away on something, you very likely you're going to spend less time than if you would have spent that time up front and accomplished the work. You know, so it's just that it's untangible. You cannot really see it. You would have to build the same project in one way
in order to do a fair comparison.
Exactly, and have the exact comparison. But by experience, you're gonna save time and money this way.
Also, like, because I have something else to add, it's there's a thing. It's like, I would say, I call it like knowledge over time. It's because a lot of people, you know, like when they start, I want to do this, okay, and they want like a deadline or an objective. I want this in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and like, but the thing is, like, that's like a paradox. I would say, is like the point in time where you know the less of the project is like that first day, you know. And as you work on that project, as you discover it, as you speak, and as you trying to understand things, as the time goes on, you get that knowledge, you learn that new stuff, you know. And at that point, as you get more knowledge, you're able to do better estimate, better understand what's happening. But then, like, if you say, I'm going to that in 1 month, yeah, but like 3 weeks later, you know a lot more, and you should say, oh, I should have said 2 months because it's bigger than I thought. But that's the thing, it's like try to find a way to like balance the knowledge over
Sweet
time
spot.
that you acquire. And that's why sometimes, like Andrew said, it's like you estimate like maybe 2 to 4 weeks, but you keep constant communication to like, it's important to keep people updated. It's like, okay, like 1 week later, is it going as good as you thought? Is it going to be worse? Or just like, but keep the communication open. So in 1 week, it's like, oh, hey, it's going well, maybe going to be 3 weeks. And then 2 weeks later, oh, we have that big issue, you know, like, but at least we can adjust the estimate as time goes on. And like, as the knowledge goes up, we're able to like be more precise on what we want to accomplish and what's going to take as work.
Okay. In relation to what has just been said, one thing that is a problem in any developer world is the micromanagement, because you know there's what Abraham Lincoln said. Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. Is totally applicable for devs. It's the reality, and that's why we often say that they're gonna look, investigate, think for 60-70% of the time, and then they're gonna code for 30%, 40% of the time. That's exactly that. And if they keep being interrupted, if they keep being micromanaged, it interrupts that creativity flow. And the dev has to restart again, over and over again. And if you want to talk about, you know, extra costs and delays, here's one of the major responsibility, you know, in the dev environment.